So just to start off, I mean, on the one hand, you and Anthony Daniels are the only actors in all 6 Star Wars movies.
Yes.
On the other hand, you can't be seen, you can't be heard, and still people are lining up.
You're not too sure whether I'm there or I'm not.
And still people are lining up for autographs. It's 25 years later.
It's amazing. It's just amazing. They're queuing up now in Indianapolis for the opening in April. April the 24th, 20th, something around that area. So it's another 5-6 weeks. And he's camping on the pavement outside the cinema. It must be crazy.
And you've been there for the whole ride since filming in '76.
I've been there since 1976.
But you hadn't done a lot of movies before that, had you?
I did Circus of Horrors. I did The Assassin for TV.
But did you know what you were getting yourself into when you did Star Wars?
Not really, no. I mean, had I known, I would have done it for nothing because he was broke at the beginning. He didn't have a penny, George. And Alan Ladd, thankfully, took over agreed to release it with 20th Century Fox. And if I'd have known, I mean, it's all right in hindsight, but if you'd known, I should have done it for nothing. Because I was working every night anyway in Cabaret with Jack Purvis, who played one of the Ewoks, the one that shoots me in the canyon. Very painful, get shot in the canyon. Anyway, Jack and I had been working as a double act for 20 years before Star Wars came out, since 1960. So 15 years. Working around London, basically. And I lived there, and Jack did. He had a wife and 2 or 3 kids. I had a wife and 2 boys. And we had the cats and dogs and caravans. And we used to go out for summer shows with a caravan on the back of a Citroen, 18 feet Citroen, 18 feet caravan, 6 berth, long vehicle, short driver. And great, we were having new cars, new television sets, washing machines, and then this film came along, and I turned it down. I said, I don't want to be stuck in a robot. What for goodness sake, I said, I'll help you out. I'll do you a favour. This is for George, I said, I'll help you out. Since you've got to do it, we can't find anybody else. You're small to get into it, and you're strong enough to be able to move it. And they couldn't use kids. But they're not, I mean, I know I'm short, and I'm not that strong, but I'm,
strong for the size, so to speak.
Concentrated power, And I could work all hours, like 8 in the morning till 8 at night. You couldn't do that with kids. You see, so I was a godsend to them, really. Because they'd made the robot in rough form. And I was the only one around at the time that was just right for it, I got into it eventually, put the lid on me like a boiled egg, Put the lid on, and it revolves on bearings. And I had nuts, bolts and screws into my head, inside. And well, the next morning I'm combing my hair, and I felt all these scabs on my head. I thought, where did I got those from? I thought something had biting me. And it was the nails and the screws in the head of the R2-D2. So the next day I had to have foam rubber put in the head to protect my head, And one thing, these little silly things that had to be ironed out, so that it worked. And then, as far as I was concerned, forget it, I didn't want to know. We were doing television, we were doing Opportunity Knocks, a talent contest show, with Huey Green, I don't know if you remember Huey Green. And we weren't in there to win it, we were in there just to make it up into a show, like a variety show. We were a variety act, worked the theatres and the clubs and the pubs and the holiday resorts. So we were, we were well known, and we were doing well at the time. Both making plenty of money, paying our taxes, buying new cars, having a ball, really. And this was the days before drinking and driving, when I got caught in England last week. And I was a quarter of a glass of white wine over the top, because I'd had nothing to eat. And they said I was driving erratically, and what it was my accelerator pedal on the Mercedes. It's got a return spring, so it comes back. And it was somehow, I don't know what's, it's in the garage now, but as I'm over here in Sweden. The guy took it away yesterday to check it out. So it wasn't me, it was the car. So it wasn't me driving, I wasn't drunk. I was just over the limit, just that much. I was all over the newspapers, all over the world.
But do you wish sometimes that you were recognized by the general public more than you are?
No, but I am now, because I've
Right.
done a lot of these programs, you know, TV programs and interviews at papers, and all over the world. Been to Japan, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, all over Europe. Haven't done anything in Italy. Done Barcelona, and that's all I've done in Spain. We've done Sweden, we've done Malmo, we've done Copenhagen, a lot of Germany, Holland, Belgium, France, Paris. We've done a few in France, not a lot. Mainly England and America, and Japan. We've been 3 times to Tokyo, and up and down on the fast train and the bullet train.
What about the different actors that do this sort of conventions? Do you form a friendship over the years,
Oh,
a
yeah,
sort of family?
Oh yeah, well, Jeremy and I, Jeremy's from London. Jeremy Bullock.
Yeah.
Played Boba Fett. Well, he's in South London, and at the time I was in North London. But he's an actor, and I was a performer, variety performer. With Jack, my partner, club act, or room acts, for places like this, hotels in London. And we were having a ball, you know. But then Darth Vader, Dave Prowse.
Dave Prowse, yeah.
I met Dave in Bristol when he was a bouncer in a bowling alley in Bristol. He's got a picture of me sitting on his arm. His book comes out at the start of this movie. And he's got about 12 pictures of me, he said, in his book, starting with me sitting on his arm. Well, he wouldn't be able to do that with me now, I'm too fat. But we've known each other for years. Peter Mayhew, he was a hospital porter, pushing bodies around in Croydon, South London, again, near Dave. And he eventually got married to a Texas girl, and lives in a place called Granbury, outside Dallas. And he married a lady who's already got 3 daughters. Now he's got a great big huge dog that's bigger than me. That licks me, and every time I go, it gets near. And he's right there with me, his face is there. He's big, huge dog. I mean, he's lovely, Pete. He's really happy. Now he's married and got, married into a family. Because he's a bit lonely before, I think, poor old Pete. He outgrew his body, Pete. And he sometimes got a bit bad-tempered with people. Only because he was a bit not in body. You know what I mean? He's a lovely guy. And I used to kid him, I said, Pete, you don't be quiet, I'm going to set fire to you and burn you down. And we've had some great times. And there's Dave, Pete, Jeremy and me, the 4 of us. And we never see Anthony. Very rarely see Anthony Daniels. Saw Mark Hamill in America and Carrie Fisher. She's come out 2 or 3 times. Never seen Harrison Ford. Alec Guinness just died, so we don't see that.
Peter Cushing as well.
And Peter Cushing, yeah. But they were not, they were real actors. Well, I'm saying we're not, you know what I mean? They're like serious actors. I mean, when they get into a part, you don't think you're looking at Alec Guinness. Eventually, you're looking at the character, don't you? Whereas when you're watching Michael Caine, it's Michael Caine. Even when whatever he's doing, he's still Michael Caine. Whereas Alec Guinness would disappear and become the character. Not many people can do that. Very few good actors can really get into the part that deep, character-wise. And then with makeup and what they can do now with teeth and eyes and
he didn't need much, though.
Pardon?
He didn't need anything. He just went into it.
Yeah, he was amazing. And Kirk Douglas was a little bit like that, wasn't he? Whoever he was performing as, he was that person, not Kirk Douglas. And there are very few that... You see, Michael Crawford. Oh, Betty. Remember when he was Michael Crawford in that TV program in England? Was it with his wife? Comic.
Yeah, what was it called?
Oh, he used to wear a beret. He's still on TV now
Yeah.
as a comedian. Very hard to lose that. That's all you can see is Michael Crawford going, oh. And he was always a disaster, a bit like Mr. Bean
Yeah. Yeah.
and Lauren Hardy. Always in trouble. Just complete walking disaster. Great, fabulous, what an entertainer. But not a deep actor, if you know what I mean. When they do try and act seriously, you can't forget that they were that comedian. Like asking Charlie Chaplin to do somebody else. Or Lauren Hardy to be somebody else. Yeah, that's all you can see them doing. It's strange, isn't it? And they're good actors in their own right. But not as... There's one guy we met in Tokyo, who's English, and I can't think of his name. He was King Lear. He was doing King Lear in English in Tokyo. 2 hours on stage, by himself, nobody else. I couldn't believe it. I mean, that's doing something, isn't it? In Japan. Yeah, he was there for a season. We had lunch with him one day. I couldn't believe this guy. He's in England now, I think. He's come back from Japan. That's a lovely place, Japan. You ever been? You ever been there?
Yeah, I've been to Tokyo.
Nice, isn't it?
Yeah, very nice, very nice.
They've got little people in Japan. See?
Oh, yeah.
I bought all my shoes. Because all the little Japanese people, they've got little feet. And if you buy a Honda or any Japanese car, all the door handles are quite small, all the switches. You buy a Mercedes, it's like Germans. Yeah, you know what I mean? The cars are built to fit the nation, the people.
Just like the shoes. Just like the shoes.
Yeah, the shoes are perfect. I bought a pair of shoes, put them on and walked out of the shop. Fantastic. Yeah. It's like Texans, everything's big. They all big hats.
Big meals.
Everything's big pickup trucks. Yeah.
So, I've got one more question about this sort of
Not talking about
events.
Star Wars, are we?
No, but not back to Star Wars. Back to your involvement in this sort of conventions. How long have you been traveling around doing this sort of things?
Since 1996. Nearly 10 years, is it?
Yeah, it's nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what sort of reactions do you get from people?
Fantastic. Honestly, really fantastic. I get some lovely letters from people. I always repeat this one. I went to San Diego last year and the year before. In fact, I'll probably go again this year. It's lovely. That's if I can get in there. So, anyway, I was in San Diego and I'm signing autographs. It's in photographs. And this lady came up and she said, would you sign this? And she was about 30, 35. And I started to write on whatever it was she gave me to sign. And she burst into tears. So she was really crying. I said, what are you crying for? No, I never normally have this effect on women. Yeah. She said, well, the thing is, when I was a little girl, and Star Wars came out, R2-D2 my parents were going through a divorce. And R2-D2 was the only thing that kept me happy. I used to take him to bed with me every night. How about that?
That's a
I was in
fantastic.
tears. Yeah, I was in tears myself. I thought, gee, what a thing to say. And then another girl came up to me in Japan, and she went like this to me, like this, with something for me to sign, you know. And as I signed, she did the same thing. She burst into tears, and I couldn't speak Japanese, so I don't know what that was all about.
But probably someone else's life that you made.
Yeah, it's amazing
Terrible.
the effect it's had on a lot of people. I've had people write to me and say, you know, we know quite a few little people, and we would like you to come and talk to our school to show them that if they have a bit of character or charisma or whatever you want to call it, or drive, you can do just the same as I've done, you know. I've got my own house, I've got a Rolls Royce, I've got a Mercedes, I've had a wife, I've got 2 kids. My wife died, unfortunately.
Sorry, yeah.
Of epilepsy she had, but she died. Which was sad, really, because she was a nice-looking girl and a nice girl. But anyway, I've been lucky. I've not always been smooth, really. My mother and father separated when I was 8. Mother went to America, which then was light years away. And you didn't just... America? Where's America?
It's another planet, yeah.
Yeah, it was in those days, back in the 1950s. And I lost my mother. See? So my father, we were remarried, and we were going to go and live in Brisbane, in Australia. And he went to for an operation in Birmingham, right, where I come from, in England, and for gallstones, an operation, which was nothing, and died of pneumonia in the hospital. Couldn't believe it. So now I've lost my mother, then I've lost my father, then my dog died. You know, it was a complete... Then I left school. Stepmother didn't want to know because she'd got a baby girl. It was my sister. And then she had a mother that was sick and couldn't cope with the hotel in Hastings, on the south coast. So she went to help her mother to look after the hotel and the baby Carol, that was my sister. She couldn't cope with me. I'd come out of school at 16, didn't know what to do with me at all. And I just happened to bump into a little lady, like the lady I've got with me now, in the street. And she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I've just left school, you know. And I'm going to come and see the show tonight." It was a show in town, in Hastings, with 20 little people. A review on stage and theatre. And she said, "What can you do?" Well, I said, "Go and see the boss." She said, "Come, we see the show, then come round and see the boss. And he might offer you a job." So I thought I didn't know what to do with myself, really. And he said, "Yeah." He said, "What can you do?" I said, "Well, I can roller skate, I can ride a bike, I can whistle, play a bit of mouth organ." He said, "Okay, can you play a drum?"
It's a good start, yeah.
Yeah. So what I did, I was in a clown's costume, riding a penny farthing, you know, penny and a farthing, funny, with wheels, with pedals on the wheel, and a little wheel at the back. Penny, that was my first bike. And then he bought me a bike to get to the theatre and to the digs or the hotel or whatever. The boss bought me a bike. And he bought me a xylophone to play. You know, a xylophone?
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it. I couldn't stand on one leg, and I just couldn't get into it. Eventually I bought a vibraphone, which is slightly different. A vibraphone, it goes wong, 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 and you hit it and it goes ring, and the note, you can hear it mild. So that was beautiful. I just had to hit it. It was music. So I got that for the act eventually. But I stayed with the Midget Review for about 1950. I left school, and 51 I started at the Edgware Road Theatre in Edgware Road in London. Max Miller used to go there. His comedy, that was his Metropolitan, that was it, the Metropolitan, Edgware Road. It's now a police station. You know, theatres closed. And I was in 1951. TV came on in England in 1953. Then it was just black and white, or green. Some pictures were green, and some of them had a magnifying glass in front of them. Remember those?
Enhance the picture.
Yeah, and all real primitive stuff. I mean, the black and white minstrels were in colour when they came out, but then they were in black and white. You know, and horse racing, you couldn't see the horse colours, the jockey's colours. It was a snooker you couldn't see, you know, all the coloured balls. And when it first came out, look at the colour, you know. So my partner stopped smoking so they could buy a colour TV set. That's what he did. The money he saved on smoking, he bought a colour TV. How about that? And primitive things, really, aren't they? But then I went on with the Midgets for 3 years, and then when TV came on in 53, and the Queen was crowned the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth, was when it all went down the Swanee, and then VAT came in, which is the value-added tax, and drinking and driving came in. You couldn't go anywhere, have a few drinks, see a show, and drive home, which we all did in those days. You weren't drunk, but we'd had a few drinks, you know.
So people stopped going to see that sort of entertainment and stayed at home instead?
Of course, they had the TV to begin with. Then dinner clubs opened, right, with a meal, where you could have a drink with the meal and watch a show. They were terrific. And that was all over England. Nearly everywhere had these lovely clubs. And they were really nice, with good lighting, stages, good microphones. You know, it was really well, dressing rooms, stage entrances left and right, you know, toilets down this end so you weren't disturbed by the toilet and all that thing. And it was really a good time of life in the 60s. And then drinking and driving and VAT came in, and that killed that. So that people couldn't go anywhere and have a drink and drive home. So they had the function, or whatever they were having, in the hotel in their own town. And had one of their members of the lodge, like the Masons or that kind of stuff, guy would go out and hire a red jacket and a mallet, and be the Toastmaster, a compere. Then they wouldn't have music, and they wouldn't have a trio and a cabaret. They'd have a local comedian who might be one of the members, and a disco with records. So a lot of people lost work, such as comedians, compares, trios, like bass, piano, and drums.
And performers like yourself.
For me, and for dancing afterwards. It all went down the tubes gradually.
But where were you in your career, sort of?
And then Star Wars came in.
When Star Wars came along, yeah.
In '76, at the same time as things were dying off. It was about 1980-ish. I lost my agent. He went to Spain, retired. On the money he'd made out of me, I bought him a house in Spain, in Calahonda. He said, the business has gone. It's had it. Do you want to buy the business? In the same breath. I said, well, you just told me it's gone down as money. What do I want to buy it for goodness sake? He wanted £10,000 for it, for all his connections, all the agents' addresses, all the clubs. It was good, it was well run. He knew what he was doing. But I didn't. It's another hassle. No, I said, I'll stay with Jack and we'll steal. You'll do the films, whatever comes. We did a lot of good films. I did Elephant Man. At the same time as we do in Star Wars, I did Mona Lisa with Bob Hoskins. I did Hunchback with Anthony Hopkins and John Hurt. Hunchback of Notre Dame.
No,
Anthony Hopkins and Leslie Ann Down and David Suchet. Excuse me. That was at Pinewood. I did Elephant Man with, again, Anthony Hopkins and John Hurt.
Yeah.
And then I did I did the Sleeping Beauty in Tel Aviv with Morgan Fairchild. She wasn't the queen. Anyway, that was one other film. Then I did Amadeus, all about Mozart in Prague. I was in Prague for 3 weeks. That was a good film. And then I did Time Bandits. Remember Time Bandits?
Oh yeah.
Terry Gilliam.
Yeah.
That was a good film.
That was a very good film.
Then I did a blue movie. I did UFO, and I did Boobs in the Wood. That was for a Northeast comic, UFO. That was a bit too strong, really. And then I did Boobs in the Wood, which was good fun, with Jim Davidson. And that was a good show. A bit strong language, but it was good. And the choreographer was good, and the dancing was good. The girls were gorgeous. That was good fun. I think Time Bandits and Boobs in the Wood was one of my favourites. And Star Wars is good fun, and interesting.
Star Wars has been with you for so many years, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it just keeps
and
revolving.
It keeps coming up, keeps coming back. They keep bringing out new R2-D2s. I bet the next one I'll be driving his car along it and get arrested for drink driving or something.
But you don't get a penny for every one sold.
No, I wish I did. I didn't.
George does, I guess. But
if I'd known, I was going to say way back when I started this interview with you, if I'd have known what was coming up, I would have done it for nothing.
But for a percentage.
I'd be a millionaire, like Alec Guinness was, a millionaire. Which I'd done it in hindsight, but I didn't know. I wasn't into films. I was a variety cabaret entertainer, more than filming. But the filming was good when it was there, when the money was good.
And now he's taking you around, R2's taking you around the
Been
world.
all over the world. I went to Canada with my act. I went to New Zealand with my act. I went America, we did Lake Tahoe, and that was a lovely area. Up in the Sierras. Lake Tahoe, Carson City up there, that way. Beautiful place. So we did all right as a double act. And we went to South Africa twice. We went with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs on ice. And we went with Chu Chin Chow on ice. in 1964 and 1965. So I spent about a year altogether in South Africa. And when I came back, I bought a car, my first car. And I was about 65, 1966. Where am I? Well, I'm 70 now. And then about 40 years ago, isn't it? Roughly. And I didn't have a car before that, and a motorbike. I had a cracking little motorbike I bought in Johannesburg. Fly about all over Cape Town, Durban, down to the beach. Cape Town, down to Sea Point. Yeah, we've been around a bit. This is with the ice shows. Went to Paris, Maurice Chevalier Theatre in Paris, with Jacqueline de Bief, who was the Queen. And she kept on the skates, and the skates, they used to get crushed ice from the fisheries people, and crush the ice, and then spray it, and then freeze it through tubes, with brine going through the tubes, and freeze it, so that'll make ice for ice skating. But it wouldn't, the machinery kept breaking down, and they couldn't get good ice. And this Jacqueline kept melt, which is French for whatever. And she was so bad-tempered one day, she picked up the apple that she gives to Snow White and threw it at the audience in a temper. And the conductor caught the apple and threw it back. How about that? And we lasted about 2 months in Paris. With Snow White was pregnant. The ice wouldn't freeze. The show just collapsed. Then Holiday on Ice came into the Palais des Sports, which is in Paris, just outside the centre. Swamped us, killed us stone dead. The show folded. We had a 2-year contract to tour the Europe. We could have probably come here, everywhere, Copenhagen, everywhere. But we finished up in Paris, and I had no partner. He packed in the business. I had no car. I sold my car to one of the chorus girls. I had a Mini. I sold the car. I had nothing. I had no act, no car, nothing. I had a girlfriend, and I said, you better not come with me. I've got nothing. I'm back to square one. So she joined Holiday on Ice, the show that came in. This girlfriend of mine. She was amazing. That was her. Sorted, really. I had to go and start another act with one of the dwarfs. He was a nice guy, let Rustic off. We got the act going, see. He put on my partner's suit. And it was a bit long in the leg, so we turned it up in the leg. Little guy, like me. So he lasted with me for about 2 years, and he said, I want to go on my own and be a multi-instrumentalist. He was very clever with musical instruments. So I said, okay, then I'll have to go back as my own. I was on my own, comparing at clubs and stuff. I thought, I wonder what Jack's doing. I phoned his wife in Watford in North London. I said, where's Jack? She said, he's in Germany. I said, what's he doing in Germany? She said, he's doing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs on ice in German. I said, what's he doing that for? She said, he can't wait to get out. He wants to get out. I said, does he want to come in? Shall we join up again? I said, double act. Because we were called the Minitones. She said, I wouldn't be surprised. She said, you phone me back tomorrow and I'll let you know. She said, he can't wait to get out. So there was him and Georgia Clayton, one of my mates in Snow White at Wembley, and Jack, and we were the Three Musketeers, And we used to have some fun. So we teamed up again. See, he put his suit back on again. He said, Jesus, I must be growing. He said, look at me, the legs are too short. He thought he was growing. The same suit. We were too mean to go and buy a new suit. We weren't loaded in those days, we weren't. We were all struggling around in those days. I wasn't married in those days. But we've had some fun, Been lucky.
I can tell.
But, I've also had...
It's been hard work, too.
Yeah, then my wife died, and that was a terrible thing. And Jack had he had an accident with the car. He bought my Mercedes and chopped it in for a BMW 2-door coupe. And he was struggling to get parcels in and out the back seat, and then all this, and he hit the gear lever and it went into reverse. And it left the engine running, and he broke his neck in the gatepost. Completely paralysed from the neck that was it. It lasted about 6 years. And just eventually died. So that was another disaster, you know. So I've had a few disasters. And I was on my own then, working in Spain. And I'm on the beach all day, sunbathing. I'm in the club at night doing my solo act. And I caught pneumonia. Couldn't believe it. Went to a doctor, he said, you've got pneumonia. I said, well, I've been on the beach all day. And in the club for one show at night. I've got my own apartment. I'm eating well, I'm fresh air. How do I get pneumonia? He said, well, it's a virus. You can pick it up anywhere. I didn't know that. I always thought pneumonia was a cold. You know, a serious cold. So anyway, that knocked me for 6. And then I came back to England, and I was devastated again. Couldn't work because pneumonia was serious. And then Darth Vader phoned me. And he said, what are you doing, Kenny? I said, well, he phoned me before I came back, actually. I was in Spain. He said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm in Spain, and I'm knackered. I said, I can't do it on my own anymore. I'm too weak from pneumonia, you know. I'll have to come home. He said, well, come back. He said, we've got this convention in Disney, in Florida, for Star Wars. And if it works, we might go to Paris, we might go to Tokyo, or the Disney complex places, which is what we did.
But was that in 96? Was that when you got started with the Star Wars convention?
Yeah, I was and he said to me, where are you now? He got me on my mobile. I was where was I? In Benidorm. And he said, where are you? I said, I'm in Spain. Where? He said, I'm in Benidorm. He says, Christ, how much is this going to cost me? Dave, he's just tight, he's mean. He won't spend any money. But anyway, I joined Dave, and that's how I started with, you know, conventions. So
but how was that experience the first time when you got into it?
Fantastic. You know, it's just a lovely situation where you've got fans, and all they want is your autograph. And, you know, so nice, you know. And usually get your expenses, you know, and the hotel and the flights and stuff. Getting a bit difficult now. They're not quite so forthcoming with flights and expenses, but there you go. We've had a good 10 years, and I'm retiring, really. I'm 70 years old now, so I'm sort of nearly worn out.
You've squeezed the good stuff out of it, though.
Yeah, I've had a good life. I've had a very good life. I'm not complaining about anything, you know. I've been married, I've had 2 or 3 girlfriends, and I'm a car maniac, you know. I've always had a nice car.
You make 30-year-old women cry.
Yeah.
By signing autographs.
Not terrible.
But it's still a wonderful
It's an amazing thing, isn't it? And then when I got stopped for drinking and driving, well, I wasn't drinking, you know, I just got caught with 2 glasses of white wine I had. And I got caught, and I've had all kinds of lovely letters from people saying, very sorry to hear about your trouble, you know. Do you want a chauffeur? Because I said to the reporter, he said, what are you going to do now? I said, well, I'm looking for a chauffeur, a blonde, blue-eyed blonde, about 3'6", 35, 24, 36, you know. And the girlfriend with me now, and I said, did you get anybody? You know, she was jealous. She said, have you any phone calls? I said, no, not a one phone call. But I've had people phone me and write to me saying, you know, sorry to hear about your troubles. And I said, well, they let me off, really. I'm going to get away with about 9 months and £60, you know, fine. Because she said you didn't kill anybody, you weren't in an accident. You know what I mean? You thought you were innocent, but you were just over the top. So don't do it again. You know, they couldn't let me go completely, because if you're over the top, you're over the top. So it's mandatory. You're going to lose it, usually for a year. But if you're over the top, way over, and you really aren't, they could work you for 3, 4 years, or 2 or 3 years, and £1,000 or more if you're completely over, you know, drunk. But so you don't do anything like that, of course, obviously. But it was just unfortunate, really. I thought I was innocent.
These things happen, I mean.
Yeah, it was just a fate, you know. It was me not thinking I had forgotten I hadn't eaten. I thought 2 glasses of white wine that was it, which it wasn't. And I did reckless driving. It wasn't that, it was the speed. The car kept slowing and accelerating and slowing. That was what it was. And it's in the garage now, being fixed, you know, so it's smooth. So I can used to make my calf muscles ache because it kept pushing me back, and I always kept pushing it in. And what happened, that was it. So now the future is like more of these conventions, especially this year with a new film coming out in April.
You keep getting new fans. I mean, the
Yeah.
new generations keep coming in.
That's right. I mean, we were in Tennessee. We were in Knoxville and Nashville, Tennessee. They were here to that bungalow across the street in line, 4 abreast, all day, from 10 o'clock till 10 o'clock. And I kept walking outside the shop, it was, and they were still there. And at the end, an old couple, about 80-year-old, they were silver grey hair. She was looking, and there was about 6 of us there. And she was like this old lady. I can't believe you're all on the same stage in Texas, in Tennessee. You don't know how happy you've made me. You know? Amazing. You don't know how happy you've made me and my husband.
You've made me really happy as well. It's been
good,
very, very nice
My
meeting
pleasure,
you.
my pleasure.
I hope you get your bag back as soon as possible.
Oh yeah, that's my case. Yeah.